Folks, how lucky are we to have open bidding? I'll get into that and then get into the latest home prices and insights for freehold properties for the City of Toronto only for week ending January 31st, 2024. Thank you to the many of you that have subscribed. Those of you that have not yet subscribed, but you enjoy the content you hear every week, consider subscribing. So, open bidding. How lucky are we? And I'm saying that really being a bit sarcastic about the whole thing. Those of you that don't know, as of December 1st, that just passed, December 1st, 2023, open bidding became possible. The powers of real estate that control our real estate universe decided that this is the day where open bidding is allowed. But they never made it mandatory. It's not, this is the only way to do it. It's open bidding is allowed if the seller chooses to allow the contents of the offer, certain contents, whatever contents the seller chooses, to be shared amongst other people putting in offers or people inquiring. Seller's choice, or the way it was before, closed bidding. The seller can choose how they want to play the game when there's more than one offer. So I can tell you, working with buyer clients, so far since December 1st, and especially now in January, it's become very busy. We have participated in several multiple offer situations. There are far more properties being listed with an offer night pricing strategy. We've monitored many properties where we chose not to participate in with our buyer clients, but we're monitoring to see what happens, to see if the property maybe doesn't sell, then we can buy it on the other side of offer night. I have not seen one open bidding where contents of the offer are disclosed. For our seller clients, we let everybody know the options. By the way, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we say, when these offers come in, you have the option of keeping, the cards close to your chest and nobody knowing any contents of the offer. Or, as of December 1st, the rules changed, and we could let other people know what the price is, what conditions are, what closing, whatever you want people to know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, whatever you want other buyers to know, with your permission, we could tell everybody. I've not had a seller client yet say, oh, for sure, disclose the contents. Nobody has said that. I've not seen it with our seller clients. I've not seen it with our buyer clients. So I'm asking you, because I am looking for some feedback. If you're a realtor watching this and you've participated, whether you're with the seller or buyer, you've participated in an open bid scenario, please comment. Let me know what that is like, because I don't have any experience with that yet. If you are somebody else, if you're a buyer that's watching this, if you're a seller, or just anybody, if you have experienced it, if you've seen a friend of yours experience with it, do me a favor, comment below. Let the rest of us know what it's like, because I've not seen it. I don't know anyone who has seen it and how it actually works and what kind of difference is it actually making. Sellers are not keen on this from my experience anyways. They do not want these bids to be open because it is not in the advantage of the seller. So buyers would love to know what the other bids are. Most buyers, unless you think you're the top bid, you don't want anyone to know that. But if you're, trying your luck and you've got your budget and there's competition, yeah, you want to know what the highest bid is. Well, let me know how that goes, or if you've experienced it, let me know how that went. Or if there's one coming up, let me know. Give me the address. I'd love to monitor it and see how it goes and what happens and how the whole thing plays out. They changed the rule, but what's the point if nobody does it? It's the same old thing out there right now. And multiple offers, if you've just joined us right now for the first time, you've seen no other show this year, let me tell you, multiple offers or pricing strategy where where the price is low to generate multiple offers. That pricing strategy is on the rise. There seems to be a shortage of listings versus the amount of buyers that are out there right now. The months of inventory generally is decreasing. Depending on your home type and your price type, up between a third to half the properties out there are selling at list price or more. So there's lots of competition. The market is becoming more intense right now. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. If you want to talk to me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really easy. Up here, there's a link to my calendar. Below this in the description is a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Folks, before we get into our regular weekly breakdown, let me show you a couple slides here. So here's a monthly breakdown. Lots of people like to see these numbers on a monthly basis. And a lot of the reports and the news channels, you're going to hear month over month changes, this month versus last year. So let's look at month over month breakdown now that we're at the other side of January now. So for January 2024, if we look at the sales, 342 were sold. And in the black here, I have each January going back to January 2020. So 342 sales, more than we did January last year, but less than what we sold the previous Januaries. Average sold price for January that just passed this year, average sold price is $1,553,000. And remember, the black ones are each January going back to January 2020. So just this January versus January last year, when you compare year over year changes, if we're comparing this number last year to where we are now, we're 4.5% higher in average sold price versus January a year ago. I'm only looking at the City of Toronto properties and only for detached properties. It's important that you understand that, because many of the numbers you're going to hear out there that are being advertised, sometimes it's all home types, sometimes it's all GTA, and you're going to wonder, why is it different than maybe what I'm telling you here? I'm telling you this is just for the City of Toronto, detached properties only. So we are 4.5% higher than where the prices were 2023. Compared to 2022, we are, depending on which way you're going, if you're comparing, where are we here? 2022, average sold price for the month of January was $1,887,000. So if you're going and comparing it to today, we are 17.7% lower than where the average sold price was in January of 2022. If we want to get back to January 22, we need to increase by 21.5% our average sold price. How do you feel about that? Do we feel that average sold prices are going to increase by almost 22% if we're talking rounded numbers? Seems like a lot of percentage change, doesn't it? Well, if we go back further, well, 2022 was the peak. If we want to get back to 2020 prices, well, we are currently 13, almost 14% higher than where the prices were January 20. That's looking back from January 24 to January 20. We're going back 4 years. I don't know if we need to go back more, but you can see the difference in the years. We're basically sitting very, very similar to where we were January 2021. Then prices peaked in 2022. Then they came down. They went up again at the beginning of last year, and now they're down again. If we look at power of sales, here's another chart that monthly I bring up. We said earlier this year, we said when we compare 2022 to 2023, there's a 108% increase in power of sales, 2022 versus 2023. Well, so far for January 2024, the orange, that's the current month that we're looking at, and the blue, that's the same month a year ago. So for January 2024, 87 power of sale properties were listed. In the same month a year ago, January 2023, was only 42. There's a 107% difference just in January, month over month, or sorry, year over year. So big increase in power of sales also happening. Let's look at our regular program. So we're breaking things down by week. Here's for January 31st, and I've got the freehold properties. I got condos down here. So condos, town, semis, detached. Except for condos, you could really kind of see, man, just overall prices are really starting to trend up. These are average sold price just for the city of Toronto. And the difference between the average condo price, which is $680, to the average detached sold price, which is almost 1.7, it's 1,695. The difference in average prices is $1,015,000. That's a big gap between condos and detached prices. But let's take a closer look. Here we have City of Toronto only detached properties broken down by week for a whole year. The focus is really on this side of the red line I have here. That's for 2024. And we can see sales every week are trending up. Now, a lot of this we expect, it's seasonal. We expect sales to be increasing. So sales are increasing. 94 detached properties were sold. Previous week was 79. The amount of properties selling at $2 million or more is also increasing. The previous week was 18. The week we're talking about now, January 31st, it's 21. Average sold price right now for 3 weeks in a row seems to be steadily increasing, but it's not by a little bit. It seems pretty aggressive. We're now at $1,695,000, almost 1.7. Compared to last year, 1.7 is 4% higher than where we were this time last year. And when we started the increase, we went from 2% higher, 3% higher year over year, 4%, 4% higher. It's pretty steady at about 4% higher versus this time a year ago. The median price is 1% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The sales, we said 94 sold, a little bit less than what we sold for the same week last year. The amount selling at list price or more is 35%. So more than a third are selling at list price or more. I can tell you when it comes to listings, there are more properties percentage-wise being listed with an offer date scenario. So the pricing strategy is to list it a bit lower than what's expected and to get buyers to compete. That's a pricing strategy. More and more sellers are opting to do that right now. Listings. Here's the big question. Where are all the listings? I would expect we're seeing more and more listings. We're really not. 175 were listed. The previous week, 177. The week before that, 174. So we're not really seeing an increase in listings, which is a bit surprising because the weather's been pretty good. Normally, when there's, bad storm, it's really cold. That really does put a damper on listings. So we don't have that. The weather's been awesome. We also we're hearing a lot of talk. We're seeing a lot of talk. A lot of agents are explaining to their clients out there what's going on. Prices are trending upwards. You figured a bunch of these sellers or soon to be sellers would be jumping onto the market. We're not seeing that. So where are all the sellers? Active listings is coming down actually. So sales went up. The amount of properties available for sale is coming down, which is active listings. Months of inventory, as a result, is trending down. We're now at 2 months of inventory right now. So months of inventory steadily for the last 3-4 weeks have been coming down. Average price has been going up. As months of inventory comes down, supply and demand, there's an imbalance. It puts pressure on prices. Prices tend to go up. If months of inventory was going up, we would see average prices coming down. That's not what's happening. Months of inventory is coming down, prices are headed up. That's for all Toronto for detached properties. Let's take a look at Toronto broken down in sections. We said all Toronto is 2.0 months of inventory. You know, that's already on its own kind of mid-range of a seller's market. But there's areas even doing better than that, even lower. Scarborough, 1.2 months of inventory. 44% of those properties sold there I've sold at list price or more. Scarborough, very competitive for detached properties. Riverdale Beaches is sitting at 2.1. High Park, Parkdale, look, there's only 8 properties sold, but months of inventory there is 1.2. 75% of those, again, only 8 properties is not a lot, but 3/4 sold at list price or more, most likely all of them with an offer date. 1.2 is the months of inventory. Willowdale, Bayview Village, 1.6 months of inventory. In the middle here, you have Rosedale, York Mills, Rosedale. Average price is over 3.3 million. Months of inventory sitting at 6.1. Sure, average price is 3.3 million. Not a ton of people, not a ton of buyers jumping out there to buy in a neighborhood where 3.3 is the average sold price. So what do you get? Properties are sitting out there longer. But if you look at all the areas, months of inventory in a lot of cases, in most cases, except for York Mills, Rosedale, in most of those areas, you're sitting around 2 or just under 2 or just over 2. This one area is bringing up the overall months of inventory. If this was lower, all of Toronto, well, you could look, most of Toronto is around 2 or lower months of inventory. It is pretty active out there right now and starting to get more and more competitive. Here's semis. 38 semis were sold. 9 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Sales is increasing. Average sold price, not really. It's kind of bouncing up and down, but sitting at right now, $1,217,000. 1,217 is 1% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price of $1,160,000 is 7% higher than where we were this time a year ago. And you can see the dotted line, which is a 4-week moving average. It is trending up for semis. Months of inventory, extremely low. Semi-detached, 58% sold at list price or more. Currently, months of inventory sitting at 1, very low. Townhouses, these are freehold townhouses. Only 12 were sold. It's not a lot, but it is more than what we've been selling so far on a weekly basis this year. 12 were sold. Actually, 12. The last time we did as many as 12 was back in middle of November. Anyways, 12 were sold. 3 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price seems to be shooting up. 1140 is 7% lower than where we were year over year. This time a year ago, the median price is 8% lower. Median price is $994,000. Months of inventory sitting at 1.6. 42% of those townhouses sold at list price or more. Here's a quick summary. Folks, you know, you could decide how you want the market to be. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It doesn't matter what people predict. I'm telling you, this is what's happening right now. It is pretty much a seller's market in most parts of the GTA. Sure, lots of you have examples of, well, there's a property sitting there, hasn't sold. There's a property sitting there, hasn't sold. For sure, I know those examples too. But if we're talking generally across the city of Toronto, any property that's priced well and marketed properly, it still can't be just, you know, any listing put together. Buyers are still they're still picky as to what they want to buy. But if it's a good property, marketed properly, It's going quick, and buyers are lining up to buy these properties right now. Pretty much detached semis towns, you're in a seller's market. Your neighborhood and your price point and how the home is marketed and priced is going to determine how aggressive of a seller's market it is. In some areas, you may find a buyer's market, a balanced market. A buyer's market, it's not on the table right now. We're just not seeing it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.